Yes, Sophie, I'm here. I can hear you loud and clear.
Great. Thank you so much for being with us. We've been talking about you an awful lot over the last couple of hours, I will admit. So thank you very much for speaking to us. First of all, what's your reaction? You must be disappointed to lose by such a small margin.
Well, of course. I mean, disappointed is a soft word, but we'll go with it. Yeah, I am. But I'm also incredibly proud, actually, to lose by 1,500 in a region of millions. Given the situation the party finds itself in, and given that this has always been a place where some people said you should never have won in the first place, I'm actually very, very proud of what we've done. I'm proud of how we've built this brand of conservatism here, and I'm proud, most importantly of all, of how we've delivered for people across the West Midlands. But yeah, of course, hugely disappointed tonight.
You said that disappointed is a soft word. What word would you choose then?
I suppose personally devastated, but yeah, that's the right word. I put my all into this. I genuinely believed we were making real progress across the region on so many pieces, and for that to be closed off, that's disappointing in the extreme.
It is worth reflecting that you have massively outperformed how the Conservatives have performed across the country. It was always going to be a tall order to hang on in the West Midlands when the Conservatives are 20 points behind in the polls, and we've seen swings all over the place around the country today. And if it's not too painful a question, why do you think you lost today?
Oh, I think that's straightforward. We did not persuade enough people that our record was as good as I believed it was, or that our plans for the future were exciting enough. It didn't motivate enough people to get out and vote on Thursday. That's very straightforward. I'm sure when all the analysis is done, there'll be lots more to be said. But ultimately, it was my campaign. I ran it my way, and it did not convince enough people. And that you have to step forward and acknowledge tonight.
You say it was your campaign, but do you not think it was the national Conservative Party picture that led to this defeat?
It was my campaign, totally. And it was my campaign 7 years ago, it was my campaign 3 years ago, and that's the nature of the mayoralty. And I am not going to try to push responsibility anywhere else. One of the wonderful things about this job, a bit like being chief executive of a company, you are ultimately responsible, and there'll be no slopey shoulders from me.
We talked a lot about HS2. I remember a Conservative conference when you found out the result of HS2, that it wasn't going to be extended, that the Prime Minister had made that decision. Do you think that decision has affected the result today in the West Midlands?
I don't particularly know. Quite a lot of people have said to me, I'll tell you the truth, Sophie, many people have said to me, when you stood up to the Prime Minister, then it actually showed you were our independent mayor. So much there was great disappointment in the West Midlands at that decision. There was actually some admiration for how I dealt with it. So net, I don't think that had a huge impact. But of course, so many people said at that point, but Andy, you should have resigned over it. Had I resigned, I would not be here for the future debate about the future of the Conservative Party. And remember, the thing everyone should take from Birmingham and the West Midlands tonight is this brand of moderate, inclusive, tolerant conservatism that gets on and delivered has come within an ace of beating the Labour Party in what they consider to be their backyard. That's the message from here tonight.
That's really interesting. And I know that you're being very, very careful to accept responsibility, to not pin blame on Rishi Sunak. You're not going to give that interview, I can tell. But if you were going to advise the Prime Minister on the route now to winning the next general election, what would you say to him?
Yeah. The thing that kept coming back to me on the doorstep, and as you said, we've outperformed expectations here. And the reason that was, what kept coming back is you've got the job done, Andy. So if I could say one thing to the Prime Minister and his team, would be concentrate on the job and getting that done. That's what people want. They want confidence in their politicians to deliver. That, I think, is the message from here tonight.
Are you worried that the Conservative Party are... You talked about, winning effectively from the kind of centre ground, if you like. Are you worried about the Conservative Party drifting to the right, to overemphasising the threat from reform and ignoring other voters?
I would definitely not advise that drift. I mean, the psephology here is really very straightforward, isn't it? This is the youngest, most diverse, one of the most urban places in Britain, and we've done, many would say, extremely well over a consistent period, and the local council results across many of our councils here in the West Midlands yesterday were also extremely encouraging. So the message is clear. Winning from that centre ground is what happens.
Some Conservatives might be looking at the result and thinking, goodness me, if Andy Street can't hang on, I've got no chance. They might be tempted to move against Rishi Sunak. What would be your message to them?
I would not advise that. If you think of what I've just said, Sophie, what I've just said is clear, that it's all about delivery. We don't need another period where we are debating leadership. Could not be clearer in my mind.
Now, you've obviously been fighting right up to the last moment to win this mayoral contest. So it may be a bit early to ask you this question, but I'm interested to know where you see yourself going. Do you see yourself as a protagonist in the fight for the future of the Conservative Party? Do you want to wash your hands with them and do something completely different? What does the future hold for Andy Street?
Sophie, an inevitable question, and the answer is I haven't got a clue, because I think you know about me, as we've had discussions over the years. I'm an all-in person, want to give myself fully to something. That's what I've done to this mayoralty, and I haven't even begun to think about the other options. Might be time for a few days, weeks off to have a bit of time for reflection on that.
Someone did tweet, I have to say, it's my final sort of point to you. Someone did tweet to say that they wonder what the odds are for you as the next Conservative Party leader.
Oh, people who are on Twitter have clearly got nothing better to do. So I've told you, I'm having time to just reflect on it all, and most importantly, look back at what I hope I've delivered for the West Midlands over the last 7 years and what I hope I bequeath to my successor. That's what this is ultimately all about.
Well, we've had an awful lot of interviews together. I've come to see you in the West Midlands many times over those 7 years, and it's always a pleasure to interview you. So thank you for taking the time to speak to us on a difficult night tonight, and I hope to interview you again soon.
Thank you very much, Sophie. Good night.
Thank you, Andy.